We are going to try this again in hopes that now that I have my headphones in, I can still be outside, which is part of the goal, and share with you information that is very pertinent to public campus ministry, specifically Adventist Christian Fellowship here in the Georgia Cumberland Conference and all over. Today we're going to be talking about campus culture. Campus culture can very easily be defined. We won't try to define it according to more research-based understanding of campus culture. We're just going to stick to some basic definitions here, or a basic definition. We're going to say culture, and we're not making this up. Culture is essentially the norms of a particular group of people, a particular environment. And so the culture here, the norms of this campus or any campus are going to help us understand how to better interact with the campus. So let me look at my notes so that I make sure to touch on the essentials and not simply ramble, which I am very capable of doing. It's important for the chapters, and this is something we talked about in May's online training. One of the aspects of a thriving ACF DNA is an on-campus presence. And so it's important for the ACF chapter, for the students that are part of that chapter, for the local church that's part of that chapter, for all parts of that chapter to exist on the campus. It's not enough for a group of students from a campus to connect away from the campus somewhere on a regular basis. There must be a regularly established routine on the campus, one that enables the students to get a better sense of the campus, enables the students to more readily meet the needs of the campus, involve, engage the campus community. So things like weekly Bible studies, regular outreach, and more. These are the sorts of things, if they happen regularly on the campus, they give us more insight into the campus and they help us care better for the campus. But before I get ahead of myself here, let's talk more specifically about campus culture. Campus culture equals the various relatively static aspects of campus life that shape the activity of the campus and therefore the activity of the ACF chapter. Okay, these are, I say, that, as times change, of course, 1996, etc., etc. So as things shift, a student is here on for those 4 years that exist. The university that's shared via perhaps a monument, a statue, a static. Examples and the plaque. The history always perhaps flow through various intro courses that the university teaches freshmen. It flows through orientation, which students are participating in right now, summer orientation. So these are the stories, the history, that express what's important to the university and what should therefore be important to the student and help the student get a better sense of where they are and what makes it what it is. Another example of relatively static aspects of the university campus that create this campus culture, the mascot, the sports, the names. For example, when I was an undergrad, my undergrad mascot was the Cardinal. Okay, here at University of Tennessee, where I'm based physically, the mascot is Smokey the dog, and the name volunteer. Okay, we are vols. The sports, the big sports team here is football, and there's also basketball here and some other sports, but football. If you know UT, you know football. So these are parts of, again, the campus culture, the relatively static aspects of the campus. The priorities of the university are also things that make up the campus culture. So right now, one of UT's big initiatives is to be a top 25 university. Other universities are already, say, an Ivy League school, and part of their priority is going to be to do whatever it means to maintain that Ivy League status. Other universities have other priorities. Those priorities will inevitably impact the norms, the ways that the university moves, and therefore the ways that the students move. Is this a dorming community, or is it a commuter community? Is this a space that kind of shuts down at 6 o'clock, or is it a space where you can schedule a 9 p.m. meeting with your peers very easily in the library or wherever? I used to live in Chicago, and while I was there, I remember initially being surprised by how dead the downtown core was. Come 6, 7 o'clock, once all the people working downtown had left, that place was so empty. Sure, there are certain spots here and there that were a little lively. Now, much livelier because of various changes that have taken place since I lived there. But when I was living there, man, once work was done, downtown was done. If you wanted to really feel like you're part of the life of the city at night, you moved out of that downtown core. So what does the, there go my notes. What does the community look like? Is it a dormant community? Is it a commuter community? How does that inform how the ACF chapter lives and breathes? How does that shape what's normative to the campus? If you have, well, we'll talk a little bit more about how those sort of play out in how an ACF chapter and a local church engage. Because part of what I want to help us understand is not just how an ACF chapter functions, but how a local church interacts with that ACF chapter and therefore functions on the campus as well. Okay, so let's talk some more about some of these norms. And I'm just going to open my document on my laptop so that I don't have to run and get my paper that has flown away with the wind. Okay, so additional norms of any university, any college campus include, is it a party school? Okay, and as a church, you may not be prone to ask yourself this question, is the campus I'm trying to reach out to a party school? May not be your first thought, okay, but it's a real one. Many campuses claim to be dry campuses. Are they really dry campuses? If not, how does the party environment impact the campus, impact how students kind of live and breathe? What initiatives are the university implementing to sort of counteract maybe the party nature of the campus and the student life? How can a local church more effectively step in based on this reality? And I'm not saying running a clinic on campus. Who knows? Well, anyway, other aspects of campus culture. Is this a rural campus? Is it an urban campus? Is this campus an hour out of a downtown core of some sort, or is it right in the center? This is a prime example of a university that kind of makes the city in many ways, right? If this university were not here in Knoxville, Knoxville would not be Knoxville as we know it. It would be something else. I don't know even how to fully describe that, but it just wouldn't be what it is right now, right? It wouldn't have the same level of international presence. Oak Ridge National Laboratories probably wouldn't be the same. Like all these different things would shift in and around this city if it weren't for the presence of the campus. And whether it's rural or urban definitely impacts how things move in and around the campus. Who you're going to find on the campus, the sort of activities you're going to find on the campus definitely have a lot to do with where the campus is located. And another thing that is part of the campus culture, a relatively static part of campus life, is the student organizational life. Is there a booming student or a booming level of student organizational activity? Okay, are there a lot of student organizations who regularly have various activities going on And then more specific to an ACF chapter, are there many other are there many other faith-based student organizations on the campus? That makes a big difference. It makes a big difference as to whether or not your ACF chapter is unique in terms of being a presence on the campus, or if you're one in a million. And if you're one in a million, that shifts how you do things. It shifts how you relate to the campus. It shifts your levels of intentionality, that sort of thing. So all of these things play in to not just how the ACF chapter functions, but also the local church. So how does campus culture inform local church connection? Let's get a bit more into that. Knowing the campus helps you care for the campus better, okay? Just like anything else. Knowing your parishioners helps you care for them better. Knowing your neighborhood around your church helps you care for your neighborhood better. You know, that age-old question, if the church were to leave, would anyone, miss us in the neighborhood, right? If you are relevant to your neighborhood, it's because you actually know your neighborhood. So knowing the campus helps you as a local church care for the campus in a better way. And instead of focusing on getting students to your church, you're more focused on getting your church to the students. And the more you know the campus, the better you know how to do that. Okay, so it's not about just grabbing a tent, pitching a tent, having an evangelistic series, and saying we went to the campus, right? You know that. I'm not speaking to folks who are just going to do crazy stuff, I hope. Yeah. If you know the norms of the campus and you know the norms of your church, you're better able to meaningfully connect the two. Okay, so if you know, for example, that your church is not a neighborhood church, it is a commuter church, then in many ways you probably have a lot of things in common with a campus that is a commuter campus. And you have a lot of the same kinds of challenges. A commuter campus is probably going to have a Bible study midday, not at 6 p.m. because folks by that time maybe have left the campus. Or maybe they can do 6 and that's their latest, but they're not going to have a 7, 8, 9. Nothing's going to happen after that time. So if it's a dorming campus and you know that you have a lot of mobile members, mobile as in like they're physically able, shouldn't just say mobile, like they're physically able to move folks. If you have a very an older church community, where a lot of your folks are say, in their 70s, 80s, not that 70s, 80s means you're immobile, inactive, not at all. But if with that demographic, you know that your church isn't going to be the church that helps with move-in day, then you figure out some other activity. But a dorming campus, a big time for a dorming campus is going to be the move-in days. So how can your church relate to that activity? Can it? If it can, what's that going to look like? It's going to be different from the church that actually has volunteers to move people in. Your church may be the church that gets that permission ahead of time to set up a tent and serve food, serve cold beverages to those who are part of the move-in process. So, and I don't throw this in lightly when I say check in ahead of time. Huge, huge level of respect to the campus to make sure that we have stepped in ahead of time and said, we want to help. How are we allowed to help? What can we do to officially step in a way that's going to help you, not hinder you, and definitely respect your practices? That's a way of building community, building connections effectively. So knowing the campus helps you care better. It helps you more intentionally connect in ways that make sense for not only the campus, but your local church community. Now, how do you figure out the campus culture? As a local church, what do you do to help you figure out these fairly static norms of the campus that you're close to? You go on campus. Number one, just go. What are we supposed to do there? Walk around. On a day like today, may not be the greatest, but certainly better than yesterday at this moment anyway. Go on the campus, walk around the campus. You don't even have to talk to anybody. Just just walk around, observe. What are the rhythms of the campus? Sure, during the summer months, things are going to be different than the regular school year, the fall and the spring terms, or if you're in quarters, you know, it's going to be different during the summer months, but it'll still give you a sense of the campus. It'll give you a sense of who the various people are that are around campus. So campus isn't just about students. Students are a vital part of the campus, of course. If it weren't for students, there would be no campus, right? They're quite essential. But there are other people on campus. There are folks who help keep the physical plant running. Okay, you've got your janitorial staff, you've got your maintenance workers. These are people who are very active parts of the campus community. You have your faculty and staff. You have other entities that engage with the campus on a regular basis, and you find out more about all these different entities by walking around. And walk around at different times of day, you know, and you could perhaps, as a way of making it a more intentional time with your congregation, decide to do a prayer walk, you know, split up into small groups, keep it simple, keep it basic, you know, and just determine to walk around, get to know various parts of campus visually, spatially, and pray for those various parts of campus. Like I said, you don't even have to talk to anybody. Getting to know the campus initially is not about necessarily engaging a lot with people. A lot of the campus is the physical space. And if you know how to get from A to B, gold, okay? So get to know the campus. Get to know the students, of course, from the campus. If those students attend your church, if they don't, doesn't matter. Get to know the campus through the students. But especially if those students attend your church, get to know those students and get to know them well. And don't just get to know them at your church, okay? Meet them on their campus. Take them out for lunch on their campus. Find out those spaces that they typically exist in on their campus. You know, find 3 students maybe and ask them to give you a tour. Set it up ahead of time. I want to get to know your campus through your eyes. Give me a tour of what you would consider your 3 top spaces on campus. What are those spaces? What do they involve? You know, ask for that tour. It'll give you great insight into the spaces that matter to students and why those spaces are so important. Visit the school's social media outlets. What the school promotes via social media tells you a lot about what matters to the school. Okay, we have some utility people coming around, facilities management. Maybe they're going to cut down some trees. Other things, and then I'll wrap up here. Ask, the social media spaces. Find out there, you can see what matters to the student, what matters to the school, and walk around the campus during the evening in particular. That gives you a sense of the life or lack of life of the campus. And that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to share them. And we'll dialogue more next month, July 20th, 10 a.m. Hopefully there'll be no crazy wind disrupting our time. All right, take care.